It's GAK's Gear of the Year!
Hello and welcome to the GAK.co.uk Guitar Shop podcast. This is the final day of our Gear of the Year 2013 deliberations. I am your host, Mark Packham, who is with me this evening.
Hello, my name's Jay. I'm the assistant manager here in the guitar store.
Hello, my name's Matt and I'm the manager.
And I'm Joe, and I'm here for bass-related queries.
Gentlemen, the time has come for us to whittle down our list of 8 products released in 2013 to our final one, and we're going to work out what's the Gear of the Year.
In rank.
Well, I don't think we should rank them. I think we should just
have a top 2 or a
we
top
should maybe
1,
whittle. I think let's do a top 3, but
that's an odd number.
we'll just get down to we'll work out what our favourite bit is.
All right.
Let's do a quick recap of what we got. So from the guitar category, we've got the Squier Vintage Modified Cabronita. No, sorry, Bass 6 even.
About? Yeah.
Vintage Modified Bass 6.
Cabronita didn't make the cut.
No. And the Martin Ed Sheeran signature. From the amps, we've got the Orange Crush Pro Series.
Brilliant.
And the Laney IRT Studio.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of your picks.
That was. I've had a pick from both of those categories.
Very good.
Well done.
Well done, Joe.
And from Pedals and Other, the Bigfoot Thunder Pup and the TC Ditto Looper.
Again, me.
I mean, in fairness, Joe, you and Mark sit next to each other, so when this list was being compiled, if you hadn't said the TC Ditto, me or Matt would have said the TC Ditto Looper.
Well, we can sit here and talk about what might have been all day, can't we?
But to be fair, they are all they're all good products.
Everything's good.
What's the last 2?
Last category is Bass Things. Ibanez BTB7 NT.
When I said they're all good.
What's wrong with the bass?
No, one of my choices got in there.
Yeah, Ibanez
the
BTB7 NT.
Exactly.
In fact, none of my choices got in the bass one.
Superb.
And EBs.
And the final one, the Gibson EB bass. How do you want to do this, James?
I think to make it easy, we should just get rid of the basses.
I think we should take that 8 and turn it into 4.
I think we should do that. Yeah.
So
as well.
I think we should pick one.
No, I don't think.
Actually,
no.
There could be two pedals could make it through.
Yeah.
So I think what we should do
we don't want to have to put a bass through.
Be silent for 3 seconds, and then on a 3 we all shout the same answer.
No, let's not do that. I think what we should do is let's just get a bit of consensus about something that we think perhaps is a great bit of kit and has been one of the top bits of kits, but perhaps it definitely won't be the number one.
Okay.
Looking at that list, what would not be your number one?
The IRT Studio.
Joe Branton.
I'd probably agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a cool amp. I think it's the beginning of something quite exciting.
Yeah, I actually think the Crush series as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're really great, and it's a wonderful step for Orange. But lots of people have been making great transistor
I disagree.
amps.
I disagree on the Crush.
Really?
I think if you were going to pick, if you're looking at just say the top ones, I think the Ed Sheeran, because we were unsure whether it came out this year, and I just don't think it's as forward-thinking as some of the other ones.
I agree. It's done very well. Certainly,
I think it's a popular product, but I don't.
But that doesn't. It's not. I think maybe the rule should be that it's it's groundbreaking for 2000.
I don't know, but
I know if you were gonna break things down into criteria, you'd want something. If it's gonna be the best product in terms of just like the overall best product.
But you also need to take into account what these things represent. Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at the IRT Studio, that is starting to form the nebulous of what guitar amps are going to be. Nebulous.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of it's valvey, plus it's got the USB output, plus you can run it without a cab. It does loads of stuff. The Ed Sheeran, a great symbol of where signature models are going in 2013.
Yeah, and also it's bringing like I said at the end of the podcast on Monday, it's bringing that it's bringing acoustic guitar into a different market, which I think is very, very important and very exciting.
I'm going to nominate one that I think we should shave off, simply because there was a bit of debate about whether it was actually going to even make the final 8. The Bigfoot Thunder Pup.
Yeah.
Great product, great pedal,
absolutely.
Brilliant overdrive pedal, but even when we were trying to kind of squeeze it into this top 8, we did mention that it is just another overdrive pedal in a market. There's a lot of overdrive pedals.
I agree. So we're down to 7.
Yeah, we're down to 7. So we're saying no Bigfoot Thunder Pup.
I mean, the Thunder Pup is brilliant. The Thunder Pup is like I think, probably the best drive pedal that came out this year.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's why it's there.
Well, yeah, fair point. Yeah, but like, you know, it's. I'd almost certainly pick it over pretty much any other drive pedal that is around at the moment. You know,
well, definitely. I think it's one of the it's
not
one of
even
the best, if not the best, drive pedal at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just think if we're looking at stuff like you said, it's innovative and kind of groundbreaking for this year. Is it the most?
Okay. Well, that's. I think I agree. I think we can cut that off. However, I think then looking at the other 7, whilst I've said like innovative and groundbreaking being the number one thing, all of the other 7 more or less are within their fields.
Well, exactly. This is where we're going to struggle, and I think that was the most obvious one to kind of lop off first.
I mean, I'm happy for that one to go, but I think in terms of sounding different, I think it is I think it's paving the way for a whole different type of overdrive. Yeah, I think the thing is we haven't got a bad product. I think within
all these are going to be difficult to lose.
Agree at least then that it's not as innovative as the other stuff on there.
Okay, I will give you that, Joe.
Another one that I think probably should go. Probably shouldn't make. If we're talking real sort of innovative and we're talking real like 2013. I really, really, really want to say the BTB7, but I know that it's going to be met with an awful lot of resistance. And so, I think coming at it from a different angle, I think probably the EB bass.
Right. I think if you were gonna have those, if you were going to choose one from those 2, I agree. I think the 7-string is groundbreaking more so than the EB, so I would have that over the EB. I do think the EB is a really, really important step for me.
That's the thing.
It's they're not going to stop making these now. They've already released their 2014 redesigns. This is the first year that we've seen a new bass from Gibson, like virtually ever.
Yeah.
And but
the thing for me is, like, who really is going to play? How many people are going to buy the BTB7? Like, it's such a niche instrument.
This is maybe what we're saying.
This is not about that. Is it about? Are we saying the most popular? I thought we could look at sales figures to decide that.
The way that I would come at this is, if we're thinking about these 2 bases, like how we're going to kind of whittle this down. For me, I think yes, the BTB7 is kind of pretty influential, and it's a kind of affordable 7-string for the first time ever on bass, but I think the EB bass is such an important product,
and it's so good as well. They're so good.
You can't put something through just because it is
new,
technically different or new.
Yeah.
You have to take into account everything. And the thing is, I think when people were playing a P bass when it first came out, people were like, nah, because they've been playing other types of something different to that, like a bass 6 or something like that beforehand. And then people are like, no one's going to play a P bass. Yeah. And then the artists, the more and more people use it, and the artists you see now, it's synonymous with that sort of thing. And I think that in 20 years' time, you'll see people going, yeah, played one of the first DB basses.
I think you are probably right. I was switched
I remember when I remember when you could only get 7 strings on bass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a scary future.
It's a good future.
Maybe that's a reason to knock this one off.
12-string bass with a separate MIDI output on the 6th string, and
sounds perfect.
That's what it's paving the way for.
I'm gonna suggest that the BTB7 NT comes off the list.
I mean, I would really, I think it needs to. I think, like, I get what you're saying. I really do, but I think in the grand scheme of things, the EB is like.
I think the EB is a better product.
The thing I like about the EB is that, again, it comes down to the fact that it's Gibson listening to what people want.
Yeah.
Not just saying, yeah, we make basses. What do you mean you don't want a Ripper? What do you mean? What do you mean you don't want a 325 bass?
I mean, I think for me, just in terms of over this whole podcast this evening, it might not necessarily be innovative in kind of its design, like an extra string or a certain type of pickup, but it's just, like you say, it's the first new Gibson bass, and it's the first time I think they've done a bass that is mass market.
It's Gibson taking basses really
rather
seriously.
Than just going, let's do a Les Paul bass, or let's do a Flying V bass,
definitely,
or let's do an Explorer bass.
Yeah, exactly.
As cool as all 3 of those basses are.
Can I go down a slightly different route and suggest something that definitely should be in the final 4?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. Well, I think the way we're doing it here is let's keep going like this for the moment. Okay. So I think we can lose another couple. We're down to 6. Okay. So although they're great products, BTB7 and Delaney IRT Studio, we're saying haven't made the cut for our.
Oh, and
did we cut the IRT?
I thought it was
I
the
thought-
Thunder Pup.
Oh, sorry, you're right. The Thunder Pup. Yes.
Thunder
Can we
Pup
keep the IRT in for now?
No, see, if we're going to argue about the amps, I think the Orange Crush would be.
I don't necessarily think that
What?
I don't necessarily think that we need to cut one from each.
No, I know, but I'm just.
category.
I mean, I would say.
I think both the Crush and the IRT would be worth keeping in this over, for example, the Ditto Looper.
I couldn't disagree more. I think the Ditto has to go through. I absolutely think the Ditto has to go through. I think.
It's just a slight. I mean, it's for
The thing
everything
is,
is brilliant,
I'm
and there's
gonna
one on
throw-
my board. It is just another looper.
No, but
I'm
it's
throwing a curveball out there, right? And I didn't realise this until I actually really thought about it, and I was talking to someone about it, and I said, yeah, so the Ditto Looper, you've got one button, you hit it once to start recording, once again to start looping, undo, redo, double tap to stop. And he went, how's that different to the Boss one? The Boss one works exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's no difference in terms of the way it functions. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The buttons, it's just that you've got less in terms of the features.
It's an affordable.
Okay.
Small,
Well. Okay. By that.
What I mean is
Digitech released a new Jam Man.
But what I mean is
Jam Man
Express, which
Express.
But
does the
what I
same
mean is,
thing.
it's bringing looping to like everyone. Everyone can now afford to have a looper because it's what, 85 quid or something.
but-
I was actually I ran off for 2 minutes there because I was really worried that just before talking about this, I was really worried that this was I was really worried this was actually from 2012. But I looked, our first delivery of Ditto Loopers was on the 7th of January 2013.
Yeah, they
so
were
like
a
this
winter
is
NAMM product.
yeah. So I
Yeah, I
really
remember
think
that.
the Ditto has to be in. The Ditto's up there for me. It's up there in contention.
Well, let's talk about something that I think will possibly be our next one to drop, which I think is the Martin Ed Sheeran. Although we both agree that it's really important in terms of what it stands for, there's also a lot of products this year that do the same thing. You know, that
The
Taylor have got the
Swift,
Taylor Swift, and it really is.
I
it's
love
ve-
Taylor
it's-
Swift.
It's very indicative of that kind of like guitars come to mass market, and only last night one of the fellas from JLS played at the Brighton Centre, and he was playing an SGJ, like actually playing it plugged in and everything.
Really?
Yeah, and it is kind of indicative of that. But is it the best thing?
Wait, an SGJ?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's really cool.
Is the Martin Ed Sheeran the best product released this year? Is it in the top 3?
No.
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 Is it in the top 3? Maybe. If it's in the top 3, maybe. I mean, I've got my top 3. I know what my top 3 are, and I think it probably is in there.
Well, we're going to have to narrow this down somehow. Do you think it's in the general consensus that the Martin Ed Sheeran is in the top 3?
Well, I mean, we're going to have to put it down to votes at the end of the day if we don't agree.
I mean, I would say, if we'd already got in our heads a top 3, I've already lost one of the ones that I think should be in the top 3. So, for me, I don't see it as the kind of the way. I know that there's a more folky kind of revival when things are getting smaller and more folk-like, but I definitely wouldn't say it was the best acoustic. Anyway, that it's certainly.
I agree.
But I don't think this is. Is it about?
It's
it's best versus popular here.
It's not versus popular. It's what the Martin Ed Sheeran stands for over whether it's the best
absolutely.
product. But
Yeah.
we need to work out, are we taking that into consideration as to whether it is one of the
Should
best
we leave
products?
it, sort something else,
Fine.
and come back?
Orange Crush Pro Series. Where do you stand, Matt Knight?
I think if we're talking about paving the way and being, setting, I think, the benchmark for things to come, that's what the Orange have done.
How can you say that a company bringing out a transistor amp?
Because it's the first time that transistor has truly sounded like valves.
How many valves are in the Roland Jazz Chorus?
None, but they don't sound like a valve amp. A Roland Jazz Chorus, a JC120 sounds like a JC120. It sounds like a solid state amp with chorus.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But
That's
an
a good
Orange
point.
Crush Pro sounds like a Rockaverb for half the price without the valves in it.
Less than half the price.
Yeah. When we did the videos on them,
They did sound incredible
they
in those
sound
videos
so
you did.
good, and I think that it's making because for so long people come in and go, I want a valve, I can't afford it, and you get something like this and it sounds so similar, and I think it's scary because it could not many people make valves where they used to in like Britain and stuff like that anymore, because when the first solid state and digital amps started getting good to the standard in the 80s, it killed that trade, and I think that could potentially be the start of something else if a lot of other companies
I think it
follow in those footsteps.
It deserves to be on this list because it could be the first of a turn back towards
Transistor
and solid state stuff,
As opposed to modelling.
as opposed to some modelling and to an extent some Valve stuff.
Really? Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
people listening to those, and people would say, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But then think about the 80s. People were moving away from Valve stuff, and they moved to kind of like solid state stuff. And when that was a new technology,
it's true actually. I thought I was playing through I was at a recording studio last night, and I ended up recording with one of those Fender TV Duo 10s.
Yep.
The bass combos they use that are completely transistor, and I managed to get a really good sound out of it, which I was very happy with. And I was thinking, like, whilst it was there, I was like, oh, I should get one of these. And there was that feeling of like, if I had one of these, I wouldn't have to worry. Like, I wouldn't have that worry in the back of my head at every
about
show.
Valve stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I quite liked that.
I mean, I would definitely if you've got £400 to buy a guitar head with, your options are, if you want something like that, your options are the Orange Crush Pro, PV Valve King, or Bugera,
or an IRT Studio.
or an IRT. Yeah, I suppose.
That's the difficult.
This is it. I'm not sure I'd lose either of the amps.
I think they're both, for what they are, very, very good.
I'm going to throw something out there regarding the amps, in that I think the Orange Crush Pro is a much bigger gamble on Orange's part than the IRT Studio is on Laney's. What they've done with the IRT Studio is kind of consolidate a load of cool stuff, but it's all things that exist kind of elsewhere, whereas I think the Crush Pro really is like a big step for them. Like, we talked about before, they said they didn't do it because transistors have always sounded rubbish, and now they've come out with this and gone, actually, these sound wicked.
I think the thing is,
agree.
though, the thing is, with the Orange, most people are going to go, most people, I would say, aren't going to bother. Realistically.
With the Orange one?
I think most people go, solid
it's
state.
entry level.
But I think what it stands for in terms of paving the way for other companies to go, hold on, these sound really good. We could probably do something similar
I think
and make things that I haven't got tons of amp models.
Well,
tons
yeah,
of
true.
effects.
It might change companies' minds.
I
About
wouldn't
it,
be
which
surprised
is
if you
great.
see. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a revision to, for example, the Marshall MA series over the next.
But then, to put it in context, we are now judging this amp whether it gets through on the possibilities of what it could mean.
It's about context.
Yeah. Is that not what this is? Is it, it's not, because if you want to talk about the best guitar, the best guitar of this year, you're probably going to be talking about, something Fender Masterbuilt
or like a custom historic,
or one of the collector's choice. One of the Gibson collector's choice. That's not what this is. It's about like offsetting what is a wicked thing for a good price that will have an impact on a lot of people's lives, and that's why I think the Martin is so good, because it really is. It's a like relatively cheap guitar that is speaking to a lot of people. Who
I agree with
otherwise-
all three of those criteria, but I think you have to add innovation to it. And I think everything that goes through needs to have something, if not full scores, it has to have something in all those categories. And the Ed Sheeran just has nothing in one of them.
Right. Well,
whether it's very good in the other three or not, it has nothing.
But then again, you say, I know it's not necessarily just about popularity, but the problem is that he's inspiring other people to play, who then want to go and buy his instrument, who will then probably go on and.
Well, let's move this forward. We
we've
have to drop what we have to drop.
So what do we have to drop?
So what we've got left, and let me read the list that we've got left. Squire Vintage Modified Basics, which we haven't talked about at all.
Yeah, I think that's because we're all
in agreement that
it needs to be in the top three.
Yeah, Martin Ed Sheeran, Orange Crush Pro Series, Laney IRT Studio, TC Ditto Looper, and the Gibson EB Bass. Jay, if you had to drop one of those, what would it be?
If I had to drop one, it would be the IRT Studio.
Joe?
Can you come back to me?
Matt?
I'd say the Ditto Looper.
I can't believe you're saying that. I think that's absolutely
I've got one, and they're a wicked product,
yeah.
but I don't think it is Gear of the Year, because I think, we're saying it's small. I mean,
Oh, you're Billy Real Estate. Are you about to say that small doesn't matter?
No. But what I'm saying, is,
Billy Real Estate?
there are certain companies out there that we know that make small pedals.
Get in touch, Billy.
That in fact, well, actually, I mean, I think they've announced it anyway. But Mura are doing a Ditto Looper next year. They're doing a Ditto Looper copper.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's going to be no different. It's going to be no more intuitive than the Ditto Looper, and the Ditto Looper does no different functions to the RC3.
I'm going to say...
And it doesn't run on battery, so it makes it slightly more accessible, but actually, if you've got to buy a power supply as well, I just don't think it should be in the top 4.
If we had to lose one of the ones outlined there, I'm going to go with Laney IRT Studio, because I don't think it's had the same impact on guitarists that the Ditto Looper has had.
I completely agree.
That's fair enough.
That's a good amp,
but it's not just a good amp. For £399, you're buying something that you can use in every single context that you could ever need it in. And I don't think anything's ever been able to offer that before. I agree that it's been less popular than the others, but I think that's because Laney has a predisposition to a certain market.
I mean, I would be happy to agree with that. I mean, the thing is, it's not like we're going, no, it's rubbish compared to everything else. This is the thing. We're arguing between what are great products and what are what we think is the best product of this year.
I'm not sure the Dittos. I
So
think
we're
maybe
gridlocked,
innovative is the most important thing for me.
What are your thoughts on the Ditto?
And I'm not sure the Ditto Loop is as innovative as the IRT.
Basically, you hold the cast.
What are your thoughts on the Ditto? What do you think?
We're gridlocked here at IRT Studio versus Ditto, basically, to take another one off the list.
I think my thoughts on the Ditto are someone like me who is not particularly au fait with how... I don't have enough time with pedals to sit and read the manual and do loads of work. I don't use pedals... at home really or recording, but I'm coming at from like a customer who might just come in and go, I just want to loop my guitar and play over the top of it. That's all I want. I don't want like stereo ins and outs. I don't want a mic lead. I don't want any of that. I just want to play, E, A and B and play a blues solo over the top. The Ditto Looper is the perfect product for that.
It really is, and it's as well as that is it's people have been coming in and they've gone that I want to get something for my dad, or I want to get something for my cousin. I need to get something for a guitarist. I've got about 100 quid to spend. What can you recommend? And I'll say, this is wicked. It's super fun. You can use it at home by yourself. You can use it. And everyone goes, that is so cool.
It is a perfect product in that sense, isn't it? Because it's 85 quid.
But like
it's affordable as far as 85 quid's a lot of money, but it's affordable as far as pedals
within
go.
context, yeah. But like, I went back to my parents' house. I remember going back there about a year ago, and my parents had gone for dinner in the local pub, and they were like, "There's this guy playing guitar and singing," and like he was playing, and then it carried on playing. Despite the fact that he'd stopped playing, and then he played something over the top, and it was like amazing, and like it really people.
Bear in mind, you can't do that with a Ditto Looper.
No. I know you can't.
Because you need a power supply.
Yeah. But no. Like
so that would have been an RC3.
Well, yeah, it was probably an RC30. RC20.
What I would say is that if the reason that I'd say it is there's two things. If someone came into me and said, right, I want an amp that I can use at home, I can use for gigs. It's got slightly more power. It's got USB. There isn't many I could suggest. If someone came in and wanted,
no USB on the tube.
No USB.
Yeah,
so if you want to use it for
okay.
interface, but if I want to do a looping, I've got less than 100 quid. I can give them two choices: TC, Ditto Looper, Jam Man Express. If you want to spend more, RC3, you've got Jam Man Stereo. Then you've got RC30. You've got RC7. They all do the same thing.
505.
But there isn't anything else on the market that does as much.
Yeah,
as
your
the
argument
Studio.
for it then was, and I'm kind of sort of on the in middle ground here. Towards what you're saying, but your argument is kind of was just about something that people have been able to do for years.
Yeah, no, I could. Well, I mean.
I'm to be honest, as we're talking about it, I'm being swayed.
So am I. I mean, I'm also sort of getting to the point where it's like we're not even really talking about the others. Are we just going to drop both of these two and then be left with the four that are left? You know what I mean?
I still think there's an argument to be had for the IoT Studio over some of the
the Martin.
Maybe. So
okay.
I think should we lose the Ditto Looper?
Okay, I mean, I will reluctantly concede on the Ditto. I mean,
I own one. It's a great product.
I haven't disagreed on anything that you've said at all. But like, I just like in my head when we came into this, and I know that we've deliberately sort of not spoken to each other about this because we didn't want
we've just
to.
not spoken.
Don't tell us what your top 3 products are.
No. But like, I would have had the Ditto in my top 3. Like, and I thought that we were going to come in here and someone was going to be like,
win.
No. I just thought I was going to come in and people were going to be like, yeah, Ditto. Well, obviously the Ditto's, and like I was so sure it was going to be up there.
I mean, on that note, obviously people listening to the podcast can't see, but I have brought in with me a small hatchet because I'm well aware that the EB base is going to be coming under the fire and
so
there
what,
will be fingers.
So what have we dropped? We've dropped the Thunder Pup,
The
BTB
Ibanez,
7, and the Ditto.
and now reluctantly the Ditto.
I love that.
I think
that by the way, Matt is responsible for dropping
Both pedals.
Right. So
no, I would have kept the Thunder Pup, but you know.
what we got left? Vintage Modified, Ed Sheeran, Orange Crush Pro,
IRT Studio and EB bass.
IRT Studio and EB bass.
So
what would you lose? You'd lose the RT Studio.
I'd lose the
by
IRT
default.
Studio. Out of those, I'd lose the IRT Studio. I mean, okay.
I personally would lose the RT Studio, but I understand there's an argument to be had between that and the Ed Sheeran.
Are we back to this? Is it back to?
I think
IRT's just pushing through.
The thing is, for me, I would use exactly the same thing. If someone came in and said they wanted this, and this from an amp, but if someone wanted a small guitar, there's a lot of other small guitars.
Actually,
out there.
yeah, okay, fine. So we're getting down. I think
it.
we're getting down to the point of: is it more important about what the Ed Sheeran represents, or is it a very good small guitar? Because personally, I even think there's better small guitars for about the same money.
Yeah.
Taylor GS Mini.
I was going to say the
I mean,
GS Mini.
absolutely. I think the Taylor GS Mini. I mean, I've got a Taylor Baby, which is a similar sort of instrument, and I mean,
isn't that Mark's?
Let's
I
not
was
start
wondering who
this.
was going to bring that.
but no, I absolutely think it's down. I absolutely think it comes down to what it represents, and I think that I've said this. I said this at the start when Joe first tried to throw Ed Sheeran under the bus. I really think I think it's huge. I think it's
Fine. So
it's
very
very
small.
small. Yeah, it's very small, but.
What we're saying is we've got two warring ideological factors here.
Yes.
We've got the access to music and kind of like that the role of the Guitar Hero and how that's changing,
Yeah.
versus the IRT Studio, which is kind of indicative of a lot of things that we do that are combining a lot of features that exist elsewhere into one product.
So
At an
basically, what we're
incredible
saying
price.
is we've got me and Mark who are the realists, and then we've got Joe and Matt who are the nerds. Is the long and the short of it.
I just think when you
I
compare,
think we've got two guys who listen to Radio 1 and
I mean, I don't even like Ed Sheeran. This is like, but I'm not bringing that into it because there are a lot of people out there who do, and it's like I don't know. It's just opening up the genre of if you can consider what we do a genre. Playing guitar
Okay.
like a pastime.
Here we are. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No. Please, I'm mumbling.
well, okay, well let me just
as a point of as a point of reference. There's one over there. The Telecaster.
Wilco Johnson.
The Wilco Johnson. So how many of those did we get in?
like 20, and they all went straight away.
They all went straight
from
away.
that
A
one.
bit like the Ed Sheeran, but we're not talking about that telly, are we? But
No,
there are lots of other tellies.
But I'll tell you why. Because the Wilco Johnson, I feel, is not really about the changing role of the Guitar Hero. I think that's a very specific product with a limited appeal, and because of his
And very
situation.
slightly different specs.
Whereas I think the Ed Sheeran.
The Ed Sheeran's very slightly different specs.
No, I
to
think the Ed Sheeran is more about the fact that you can go and buy a Matt Freeman P bass now. You can buy a Taylor Swift guitar. You can buy a Jim Dandy. You can buy we're not
A Ron Emery.
We're not going. Okay, what are the new signature models this year? Okay, there's a new Clapton. There's a different Yngwie Malmsteen. There's that's what the Ed Sheeran is about. It's like. It's moving away from all those covers of magazines that you see where it's like, okay, it's Joe Bonamassa or it's Eric Clapton.
You're not talking about the Ed Sheeran then. You're talking about the role of artist models.
But then
you can pick any
you're talking
artist
about money,
signature
but you're talking
release
about
this year.
unit shift, because if you put a name behind something that's going to shift a lot of units rather than someone who may be more important to guitar playing in general. because you could say
But like,
Ed Sheeran sold 10 million records.
But if we're talking about the last year in general, I don't think there is many people more important than Ed Sheeran
in terms of guitar playing. No,
in terms of guitar playing.
And again, you know, because I kind of man our Twitter, I see what a lot of people are talking about online. I'm not seeing.
I remember the day that it came out. I remember how we were.
It's crazy.
We had on the tweet deck. We were searching. We had Ed Sheeran as one of the channels, and it was just absolutely mental.
And this isn't
people
again.
talking about
It's not specifically about the Ed Sheeran, but it's about the fact that the Ed Sheeran exists in a world of Eric Clapton Strats.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go up to the acoustics department now, what are the before the Ed Sheeran? What were the signature models you're going to see? You're going to see the Keb Mo. You're going to see Billy Joe Armstrong. Okay, different kettle of fish. The Robert Johnson. There's probably some sort of Clapton up there.
Like old blues
dude.
Okay,
old blues
I
dude.
see
And then
your
all of a sudden you've got Ed Sheeran, who's this young nerdy dude from like Staines or wherever he's from.
No, he's from like near my hometown. Mate.
Okay, well, whatever. You know, he's from suburbia.
Where is your hometown?
Ipswich. He's from like near there. My sister saw him play loads of gigs
Well,
before.
yeah, you know, but what I'm saying is,
in Ipswich of all places.
but what I'm saying is, you've got like, you know, all of a sudden this sort of young, cool fella
okay.
has come along. And it's just opened it up.
You boys are
can
very
you plug
insistent.
it in via USB?
No.
Throw a curveball today. Imagine if you could. Imagine if you could plug the Ed Sheeran into USB.
I think
and then...
that Jay has hit the nail on the head, and the Ed Sheeran is a more important product this year because of what it means for the future and what it symbolises than the Laney RT Studio. There will be other amps with USB that do a similar thing to the RT Studio. RT Studio is a great amp, a brilliant amp.
Yeah, absolutely
but
brilliant.
For $399.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, of course. But, you know,
So good.
what's there going to be next year in terms of signature
Okay,
models?
okay.
There'll be loads of cool new artists that we don't know about yet that are going to get signature
Right,
models.
but it's a really weird one. I'm starting to come over to agreeing just so we can talk about some other stuff and not Ed Sheeran. But I kind of agree, but I think it's a weird thing that we're putting something through not on anything to do with the actual product.
No,
and
but
which is what we're putting. But that is
It's
your
not at
argument
all.
for it isn't about the product, because what Matt said is absolutely right. If someone came in and said, "Hi, I'm after a small acoustic," we would not necessarily put them.
But what if
with the
someone
Ed
who
Sheeran?
would never have come in a guitar shop before came in because they like Ed Sheeran?
Then your argument's the same. You're not arguing about the product. You're talking about.
But it's
But I
what it
think,
is.
but I
then
think it's a
he's-
different aspect of what this list is supposed to represent, and I think, you know, because this isn't meant to be guitarists' gear of the year. This isn't meant to be, you know, we're not Guitarist magazine. We're not Total Guitar. We're not going right. Well, you know, if you compare the pickups to this and this, you get more output from this, and that's important. You know, that's not what this is. You know, it's about what it means. You know, we're not guitarists because for any reason other than we like playing guitar and we like talking about guitar. And if this
I do it to
inspires
pick up girls.
well, okay.
Well, I mean, actually, the point that Mark said is true. I mean, and as you're saying there, Jace, would we have walked into a guitar store? All right, for example, Matt Freeman. Like, you may have listened to them first time and gone, I want to play bass because of that, and then he's got a signature, and you want to go and buy that signature.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing.
100%.
And for that reason, I can be swayed.
So we're going three against one. We're
But the
losing.
Sorry,
thing is,
Joe.
once
No, that's
again,
fine.
It's not a bad product.
No. It's absolutely it's not.
It's really hard.
Okay, that's cool.
This is
We're
harder
going
than I thought it
to
was gonna
lose
be.
the RT.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, fine. So left on the list: Martin Ed Sheeran, Orange Crush Pro Series, TC Ditto Looper.
No, we got rid of that.
Oh, sorry.
I think we've dropped 4. haven't
Wait,
we?
how many have we got left? We've got
Basics.
Vintage Modified Basics, Ed Sheeran, Crush Pro Series,
And EB bass.
and EB Bass. So we need to lose one.
Well, no. Surely we need to determine.
Well, yeah.
Well, basically, we need to drop another one, and then we need to work out out of those 3.
Yeah.
It's funny that we haven't spoken at all about the basics.
I mean, are we not just? I mean,
The basics. I mean,
are we not just avoiding the elephant in the room here and just sort of going, well,
the basics
But
is
then
the
again,
most
the
important.
best thing.
I think
Yeah.
there could be an argument. You know, if we're talking about all the things we've talked about is necessarily the basics.
Yes, it
because
hits
it's
every single one of those categories pretty much full
But
on.
I mean, it does give people what
But
they
it's been
want.
around for a long
But,
time.
Yeah,
No, it
it's
hasn't.
rehashing an old design.
Basics has been around since the 60s.
Yeah, they have, but they've only been available in custom shop. You know, what they run
no,
on
not
them?
true.
Six-
You
You could, have bought,
75?
you could have bought a Gretsch 12, 18 months ago that was strung up like a basics.
Yeah.
And why did no one get one then?
Okay,
Yeah.
but that falls down to part of the marketing side of it. I mean, the basics was 279 quid, you know.
I think, I mean, I wouldn't drop it now if we were going to drop all 4, but out of the list that we've got, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not sure that's number one. I came into
I-
this thinking that was my number one.
Well, the thing is,
and
we hadn't
what
talked about it for a long time. Before we started recording, I thought exactly what's happened that we're not going to talk about it, but actually it's brought up from
Okay.
talking about all the other products. It's brought up things about it that I've actually gone.
In defence then of the basics, we've never even had one in the shop because we can't stop selling them. So sells incredibly well, incredibly affordable at 279. Has brought a completely different style of guitar stroke bass playing into the market.
I mean,
whether you could get a Gretsch before or not, it has changed stuff.
What
This
it
is the
doesn't
time it's
do,
been
what it
important.
doesn't do, which is
It's
me.
the USB connection.
Yeah,
I know.
that's what I was gonna say.
No, I would
What
say
I was going to say, what me and Mark have been arguing for with the Ed Sheeran is that it opens up and it brings a new style of, it brings a new a new demographic of people into the guitar
That's
world,
exactly what the basics does.
No, I don't think it does. I think quite the opposite. I think it's for
Guitarists and bassists.
and also,
are buying
if
it.
you're talking about innovation, just making a cheap version of something that's been available for the last 20 years in the custom shop, that's not innovation.
Available for the last 20 years, and no one even knew what they were. No one knows what they are now. It's
But is it though? And is it something different? And people gone, I want something different, or is it someone? I've got everything else. What else is there that I can get? Oh, it's
well, there are an awful lot of
276
people
quid.
doing that then because we can't even put
I
one
mean,
on the shelf.
it is a fantastic guitar. I bought one the day they came out. They are awesome. But for me, would it be?
I think you were actually genuinely putting it on the chopping board alongside a transistor amp.
I mean, I
an
would say,
acoustic.
if we're talking about taking another one off that 4, it probably wouldn't be the bass 6. But if it was going to be my number one, I'm actually have no idea what my number one.
Okay, well,
would be.
of the 4 that we've got left, what are we dropping? Jay, what would you drop?
out of the 4. So what have we got? The EB, the Basics, the Martin,
And the Crush Pros.
and the Crush Pros. Out of those 3, I would. Out of those 4, I would drop the. I'd drop the Crush.
Joe Bratton, what would you drop?
I'd drop the Crush.
I'd drop the Ed Sheeran. Although I never thought about
I'd drop the Ed Sheeran as well, but I didn't want us to just come round to the same.
But you would drop the Ed Sheeran.
I mean,
That's fine. If we come to a consensus that we've already, we've argued
We've
that it
argued
should stay,
about
we
it,
have to
it's-
whittle this down. I mean,
Well, actually, I'm not sure the Crush should be in the top 3 over the Ed Sheeran.
Well, yeah, I mean, I completely
for just
agree.
how much you've argued for it and how much I appreciate those sides of things. I think maybe it's earned a place in there, even if I kind of disagree with everything else about it.
Yeah.
It's certainly earned a place in there. And whereas the Orange Crush Pros, whilst I think they're absolutely brilliant, they are still just a transistor amp.
Yeah, but that
I
shouldn't
know,
matter.
but I know, and I know it doesn't. I know they're brilliant. I know they're really great. In that case, let's stop talking about valves and transistors because obviously Orange have made it so it doesn't make a difference anymore. But if Orange have made it so it doesn't matter anymore, so let's not talk about valves and transistors. Let's talk about amps. Orange have brought out a good amp. Is it better than anything else in the market this year? No.
It's better than an Ed Sheeran.
I'd buy an Ed Sheeran over a Crush Pro.
I think the Crush Pros are brilliant in their context. I think if you want to argue, if your argument is that they're so good that valves transistors doesn't matter anymore, then I don't think that the best amp that came out this year. I actually think the IRT Studio sounds better. But
What do you say, Mark?
I'm inclined to agree with Joe simply because he's argued the point so well. In that, if the way that you talk about it is that valves and transistors are irrelevant, apart from the reliability, which is something that we need to mention. Saying that valves and transistors don't matter sonically is a different argument to is a transistor circuit more reliable than a valve circuit?
Yeah.
And yes, it is. I I don't know. I'm torn, obviously, between the Crush Pro Series and the Ed Sheeran. I think I'm really struggling. I have to admit, I don't know. I think probably.
Should we ask Google?
No, let's
Just
not.
Google it.
Siri.
Ask Jeeves. Ask Siri. Ask Jeeves, yeah.
No, never ask Jeeves. Has Jeeves retired now?
I think it's just ask. I think, yeah, it's just.
Jesus retired.
Crush Pro Ed Sheeran. I don't know. So you're saying Ed Sheeran
I'm
to
saying
stay?
Ed Sheeran to stay. I mean, I ardently believe that.
You're saying Ed Sheeran to stay, aren't you, out of those two?
Christ. But I realise when you say I'm saying Ed Sheeran to stay.
Yeah, but like you need to get that out of your mind because it's not about who he is and your
But that's
taste.
it. That's
Like,
my problem with this. Is that we're not
just-
talking about the product. We're talking about the fella.
No, we're not talking about the fella.
We're talking about the
talking about-
idea.
Yeah. We're not talking about the fella.
Ideas are
We're not talking about the
inception.
fella. Like it isn't. You know, you need to. It doesn't matter about whether you like him or not. Like I've said, I mean, I don't like his music,
right, okay.
but I think what he does is incredibly important.
Okay. So what are the categories? Maybe we can do that. So the categories are kind of like popularity, how good the product is,
Value for money.
The categories
value
are,
for
we need
money.
you to say which is your...
Fine.
Which,
All right, I'll cut the Crush.
you're gonna... The Crush is going.
Yeah.
So 2 for Crush is going. Matt Knight?
I'd say the Ed Sheeran.
I think... I love the Crushes. I think they're so good, and for the money that they are, they're brilliant. And if you're someone who is in a situation where you're gigging regularly but you don't want to have to deal with the reliability of a valve amp or changing valves, they're such a good option, and they do sound really good.
When you say that, it makes me want to change my mind.
But I still think I'm cutting the Crushes. I think
Yeah,
Ed
yeah.
Sheeran,
I mean,
the Martin Ed Sheeran's got to be there.
There's no. I really don't think there's a debate over how good the Crush Pros are. You know, I think they're really important, and I think that they will have. I think Orange.
Well, that's it. We
are
have
definitely going to have.
Bring it back to that.
They're gonna have Marshall and you know, slightly different place with variety. But I think like Marshall and you know the other companies who make you know those sort of like loud transistor amps.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have them quaking in their boots, and they're gonna be working crazy to get the MA series especially up to the point where it's gonna be competing against this. And I think it's brilliant. I think Orange are an incredible company.
Yeah.
Incredible company.
Well, that's it.
But I don't think that the Crush Pro is one of the top 3 things that was released
that
this
doesn't
year.
change the fact that these are still the best 32
Oh, yeah, I mean,
things
it's-
that have come out this year. And
Yeah.
it's not a naysay on anything.
Absolutely not, no.
But yes, okay.
I would just a kind of end note to that. I do think the Ed Sheeran deserves to be in the top 3, so that we're finally getting signature models that aren't Eric Clapton and
Yeah.
Yngwie Malmsteen
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That is a fair point.
And if you look at the guitars that we picked. Okay, the signature models
Everything
were.
else we've spoken about, though, how good it is to play. That's actually not something any of you guys who support the
But
Ed
it-
Sheeran
yeah, but
have
it
spoken
But
plays-
it
about.
is a good guitar.
I mean, it plays like
But
an
how
LX1, which is a good guitar. You know, they're a great guitar, and if you're looking for a small-bodied parlour-style travel guitar in inverted commas, then it plays as well as any of those, except for the GS Mini, which I think is a bit better. But it's more about the fact that it's drawing new people into the market and drawing new players in. And look at this list of guitars. Look at the players that are on there that have got signature models. You know, we picked a Jim Dandy, we picked a Tosin Abassi, we picked a Chris Miller. It's because the guitar world is opening up to these different styles and different players.
I've already forgotten who Chris Miller is.
He's
Oh,
from-
you mean at 6?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, it's opening up. It's not just okay, we're a load of blues fellas.
Yeah.
It's the Ed Sheeran is indicative of that, and that's why it deserves to be in our top 3. Now, the difficulty comes with the top 3.
How are we going to do it? Are we all going to list our top 3?
In order?
I think that'd be too confusing. I
Arm
think
wrestling?
not arm
Arm
wrestling.
wrestling? Mud wrestling?
No, never.
With you? Oh, yeah.
Anytime.
I think we need to come to a consensus. I think just because we've had such amount of confusion as to whether this belonged in the top 3, and I think it does. I think the Ed Sheeran by default has to be number 3.
I would probably agree.
agree.
Yeah. Okay. I can
Okay,
agree with
so
that.
third, Martin Ed Sheeran it takes 3rd place on our 2013 Gear of the
Just.
Year.
So the crushes
I'm,
are
I'm,
pretty much
I'm
just
on the 4th
for-
place podium with the Crush, just
Yeah, the thought it's like in the
shaking my
background.
fist.
So that means
But then again, it is a good guitar, and I totally get what it stands for.
If in 6 months' time,
Maybe
an
what I'll
independent
do-
adjudicator comes in and it turns out that Ed Sheeran was on steroids,
then he will be a no.
he'll be relegated.
So maybe
and we'll push the Crush Pro.
We'll
up.
just plug the Ed Sheeran into the Crush, and
It can join. No, it's
they
not
can join
joint third
forces.
place. If anyone has done any match fixing in this, I'll be severely. Okay,
So what we
so
left
that
with
means so for the first and second place,
We've got one guitar
the
and one
final, if
bass.
you will. It's the Squire
I'll
Vintage
get my hatchet. No.
Squire Vintage Modified Bass 6.
Have I slipped 2 bass guitars? Into
No,
the
you slipped one guitar. There's one
'cause I
guitar and one
haven't.
bass.
So the top 2 are both basses.
No. There's a guitar and a bass.
I'm sorry.
So-
I'm going to walk around celebrating for a
Let's
bit.
just recap. It's the Squire Vintage Modified Bass 6 and the Gibson
The bass
EB
6, yeah.
bass. So,
6.
what's the general consensus? Jay, what would be your preference out of the two?
The basics.
The bass 6.
Yeah.
Joe?
I think it's really, really exciting. I think it's a different style of instrument. As you've said, I think it's a different style of instrument. I think it's the first time that you've. I think it's really good. I think it's really good.
I mean,
and like the EB is.
also
Just another
good.
bass, but it's just another bass. It's just another bass. It's just, but like, would you buy back on your sort of theory of would you buy this over this? Would you get an EB over an American Standard P bass?
I think so.
Really?
I think
For 769 quid, I
you
think
can't compare
that
them.
is
The one's £400 cheaper than the other.
I think the thing is as well, we can't now say what is more
I'm not saying.
intuitive or it's something, because in theory neither of them are like, I don't know, exciting in terms of extra strings or transistor over valves or artist. It's kind of really is down to what is the better
It's just
what is
it's
the
kind
better
of it's
instrument.
kind of down to what you prefer.
Guys, our top 2
think so.
is a Fender and a Gibson.
I know, of course. Of course.
I totally didn't even realise that.
Well, but the good thing is we didn't set out to go. We've got all those products there, 32 products we've set out to, and that is what
Yeah.
we've.
I'd like to
We've come
point
down
out
to.
that my favourite thing of 2013 is the IRT Studio.
Is it?
You're
Yeah,
you're
even
really
though it's-
fighting for that.
No, I know.
But we have to come to a consensus.
No, I don't think it should be top 2 or top 3 or anything like that. I'm just saying that personally, I thought that was wicked. But yes,
Matt Knight, bass 6 or Gibson EB?
You have to ask me later. Can you ask me later? Can you ask me about the podcast?
I'm going to go EB because I think this is going to go bass 6, and
You would love to be contrary.
Yeah.
but the
No, I completely agree with bass 6. I understand exactly why it's there, and I think it's completely. I think it's the only product we've spoken about that has just hit every single category of very, very highly. I think the EB for me is absolutely remarkable, just because it's a new bass from Gibson,
Yeah.
and because I care more about basses.
I mean,
I think if Gibson had released a new
love the
shaped
EB.
guitar this year,
I love the
then
EB.
it would be
I
there.
really, really love it. I think it's a wicked bass. Wicked bass. But if we're talking, for me, it comes down to what we've said before, which is, it's something. It's something different. It's something exciting. It's something. I've
it's
sort of
tough
lost track
because
of myself.
I
don't
mean the
even
thing
know
is,
anymore.
as I said with the bass 6, they've been around for a while in a sense, but after saying all of that, I've still got one, and it's still one of the best things I've bought for a long time, and realistically for me. It's especially in terms of being the manager in the store and seeing what people are coming and ask for, and seeing the regular customers time and time again a bit lost for something different, something that might inspire them to do something different.
Yeah.
Realistically, people are going to go towards the bass 6 because bass players can play it, guitar players can play it. It doesn't matter whether you're what sort of style bass playing you are or guitar. I think you would find some way to fit a bass 6 around you. Where with an EB bass, if you're a guitarist, you're probably just going to use a pick and if you're a bass player, you probably can't. You're not maybe you've got any chord shapes down. But with the bass 6, it doesn't matter. You can do either or, and you're probably going to make it sound wicked. So for me, I think that's got to be number one.
I agree.
I tend to agree. I think that the bass 6 hasn't necessarily been, but it's not particularly innovative because that model has been around for a while, but it's something that people have just hammered on Fender's door for. I said earlier that it's not particularly innovative to make a cheap one, but Fender could have stopped at doing the pawn shop range, and they could have gone, okay, yeah, we'll just get whatever it is, 750 quid.
I mean, they weren't even that much. I think they were
like 650.
Okay, well, they could have said, okay, we're not going to do cheaper than that. You get the custom shop one at Master Build, like 3 grand, or you get the one at 650 quid. But we'll sneak in this one as well. What are they, less than 300 quid or 300?
And I think that's what Fender have done with the Squire range. They have literally snuck these products in. They've gone, look, there's a cabinet with the Bigsby. And then they kind of announce it, and then everyone wants one, and we can't get them. And the same with all the other cabineters, and the same with some of the FSR. Like, we unboxed an FSR cabinet today in surf green. It was like, I didn't know that existed.
Cool. No, did you not? Have you not seen one of those before?
I was like,
we got
they
one.
Just come in, and I think that
we got one and it went straight out. I saw it. I had it in my hands for about 5 minutes.
But that's as we've said throughout the year in podcasts with things like FSR runs and stuff like that, and it's just, I think what the basics will also stand for, being number one, is Fender being one of the best companies this year.
I think Fender
have innovation. I
think Fender have been the best company this year.
But good that Gibson have made second place in that sense, because I think they've been right on their heels with just across the board.
In terms of basses, definitely for years they've been, and it's amazing that there's a Gibson bass in our top 3, because think of a year when that could have been a thing before. It would be like, there wasn't really anything new released.
Well, I remember.
I think that's an amazing achievement.
At the end of 2012, the basses in the Gibson bass section in the bass department was about 4 things.
Yeah, and they had like
probably
4
less
Thunderbirds.
Sometimes we had to move Epiphones over there just to fill out the Gibson area, and now it's like rammed full of stuff.
Yeah,
it just like I just think we sort of get chastised a little bit. By people who say that we only ever talk about Gibson and Fender, and to a certain degree, and we have no agenda when we're talking about this. Like, we have literally no agenda. We talk about the stuff that we like, and we talk about the stuff that we think is cool, and that we think is exciting, and we think that people will like. And the stuff that Fender have produced this year, I think they've been brilliant. I think they've been absolutely brilliant. And there are we have no reason to dislike anyone at all. But I just think that Fender, if you hold up what Fender have released this year in comparison to what Ibanez have released this year, I think it's Ibanez has sort of sat back a little bit on their heels to a certain degree.
You say that, but Ibanez have built on that premium line. It's just that Fender and Gibson have grabbed the headlines because of the amazing quality of stuff.
Mark, I've worked in guitar shops since I was 16. I know you've worked in them for a while as well, and it's 10 years, 15 years ago, what Fender were doing was nothing. They were just made strats.
Here's a Strat.
And it was companies like Ibanez that were paving the way for kind of more modern productions, and they're still doing things like you say the premium line, but Fender and Gibson have kind of gone, no, hold on, we kind of almost started this, and look at all the things we can do.
Gents, this was going to be a short half an hour podcast, and we've nearly done an hour. Should we just do a quick rundown of the top 3? So in third place, Martin Ed Sheeran, which we all agree stands for something bigger than the guitar itself, encouraging youngsters or non-guitar people into the shop.
It's definitely more than the sum of its parts.
Number 2, we have the Gibson EB bass, which really stands for Gibson's return to the bass market. The first new model in a long time, certainly on the fully solid body models, and an incredible bass in its own right. And number 1, the Squire Vintage Modified Bass 6, which
Bass 6, yeah.
Well, yes, has.
That's a different argument for a different time.
Which has really kind of astounded us in terms of popularity and the actual build quality of the instrument, and again stands for a larger kind of growth in Fender and a bigger scope really of the sort of stuff that they do.
And I think one other thing that shouldn't be discarded here and shouldn't be sort of cheapened is the fact that we're not actually talking about Fender here.
It's Squire.
We're talking about Squire.
Yeah.
which is incredible.
Like, we're talking about a Squire guitar. We're talking about a guitar that is built in China. We're talking about a guitar that's built in China. How often do we have this conversation where people come in and they go, I don't like China.
They're not even Chinese, they're Indonesian.
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought they were
classic,
Chinese. Okay.
classic vibes Chinese, Vint Mod is Indonesia.
Oh, okay, pardon me. Okay, right, sorry, I didn't realise that. Okay.
Which is actually a step down on their factory.
Well, yeah, I guess,
You say it's a step down, but it's
Well,
a
no,
step
it's
down
not
in what
anymore, but
people
yeah,
think.
in what
And it
people's
just goes to show
context.
that time and time again, some people still come in and go, nah, it's
Far
got to be
Eastern
American.
guitars, don't like Far Eastern guitars.
And it's proof that actually these companies are building amazing instruments.
Yeah.
And I think one of the guitars, as we've said before, when we said, what gear should you buy now? And I think these ones, the first year, are going to be the ones that they're
These are going to be like the
one of
Silver Series Squires of the 80s.
Yeah. Gents, well done for finally coming to that conclusion. We've finally, out of the hundreds and hundreds of products that are new this year that we've kind of talked about over the course of the 36 or 37 podcasts that we've done, we've managed to pick 3 that I think are the best. In fact, we've picked however many it is, hit 32 that are really good, cream of the crop. But we've just managed to kind of
They've risen to the top.
Exactly. I also wanted to say thanks to everyone listening to us this year. We've been going since May, and the podcast has taken off extremely well. And I feel like we've almost made some like new friends. Like we get people like email and stuff saying like.
Well,
I was emailing people today about it.
Yeah. I mean, I started to. There's this really nice guy called Chris who listens to the podcast every week, and we talk on the phone like once every couple of weeks, and we talk on Twitter about football. And today I was recommending that he listen to a Rancid record that came out like 15 years ago because he bought a Matt Freeman P bass. And it's like this is the thing that we really like doing. We really like talking to people who like talking about the stuff that we like talking about. And so, quite often, maybe once every week or so, someone comes in and they're like, oh yeah, I really like the podcast. It's like, honestly, if you like the podcast, just come and say hello. Come say hello or add us on Twitter or whatever, because we just want to talk about guitars.
Podcast customers are the best customers.
Yeah,
in terms of the interaction we've had with people this year. So thanks so much for listening. Hope you all have a wicked Christmas and New Year. I think we're going to come back maybe the first or second week.
Oh, we've got a week off.
We might do a cheeky one. I've kind of got an idea for a little sneaky under the radar podcast that we could do.
Is this your elf outfit thing?
Yes.
Are we gonna sneakily bring the Zoom H6 to the Christmas party?
I'm not saying what we're doing or if we're doing it because I can't guarantee it's going to happen, but we might do something cool. But again, thanks for listening to us. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year and all that. Let's do the usual wind up. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please do. Tell us that you listen to the podcast. Argue with us about our top 3 or anything on this kind of week of madness of Gear of the Year. At GAK_co_UK, or either on Facebook, facebook.com/GAK Music, or if you want to shout abuse at me for fighting the corner for the Ed Sheeran, please do at Mark_random on Twitter. Jay, how can people find you?
My email address here at the shop is j.cross@gak.co.uk. But yeah, likewise, if you, like Joe, are seething in the corner of the room that me and Mark fought hard for the corner of the Ed Sheeran over the IRT studio.
It's only because you look like it.
Come at me, and we will have a little talk about it. and actually we won't. We'll just talk about football. My Twitter is JAYBN1.
Matt Knight, where can people find you?
You can email me directly in the shop. Even over the Christmas period, I'll still be talking about guitars at matt.knight@gak.co.uk. And you can tweet me. I will be, I'll be talking about plugging my Bass 6 into a Ditto looper.
Via USB.
On Matt_Knightsy, that's Knight with SIE on the end.
And Joe Branton, where can people find you for bass stuff?
If you want to talk to me about bass stuff, especially if you want to talk about transistor amps, because I'm getting quite into transistor amps for bass, and I want to do some research there. Then you can email me on joe.branton@gak.co.uk, or you can tweet me at @Joseph_900 and ask me about how we forgot to include the Fender Super Bassman head and cab selection in our
Just
gear of 2013.
come at us with anything that we've forgotten, anything you disagreed with. We want to hear from all of you. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Keep it up. Tell your friends. Thanks very much. Have a good Christmas.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Nah.
It's GAK's Gear of the Year.
Podcast.